Communication from the chair.
Honorable members, I convey a warm welcome as we return to this hallowed chamber to commence yet another session of the Assembly since the adjournment of the previous ordinary session in July 2025. As we convened in this August chamber for the third ordinary session, I express my profound gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty, for our lives and for making it possible for us to interact once again in the service of our dear country and people, and renew our commitment to the duties vested in us by the people of the Gambia, duties grounded in representation, legislation, and oversight. I pray that Allah continue to guide us through this session and beyond. Honorable members, I wish to warmly welcome you all back to the Assembly after our month-long recess. I extend my sincere gratitude to each of you for your continued dedication, commitment, and service to the people of the Gambia. During the recess, I trust that members were able to rest, reconnect with constituents, and attend to other important engagements, all of which are vital in enriching our work in this August Assembly. Honorable members, let me recognize the presence of cabinet ministers here today to attend to their respective scheduled businesses. I welcome you all to this assembly. Honorable members, may I equally recognize the tremendous efforts and commitment of honorable members of the Special Select Committee established to investigate into the sale and disposal of assets and properties of former President Jammeh. This inquiry stands as a critical pillar in a collective effort to uphold accountability, safeguard public resources, and restore public confidence in governance. Honorable members, by way of an update to this August Assembly, the Student Revolving Loan Scheme Act 2025 was passed during the previous ordinary session of the National Assembly in the 2025 legislative year and assented to by His Excellency the President of the Republic. Honorable members, the approved agenda for this ordinary session has been circulated to all stakeholders. Concerns to take note and attend to their respective scheduled businesses. The Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs is scheduled today in accordance with Order 94, Sub 1 of the Standing Orders to deliver his oral ministerial statement to this Assembly on the implementation and monitoring of the annual budget. The Honorable Minister has fulfilled the provisions of Order 48, Sub 2, by submitting the said statement prior to his appearance before this Assembly, which reads, and I quote, "The Vice President or Minister shall make a written copy of the statement available to members as early as possible, and in any event, at least 30 minutes before delivering the statement in the Assembly. Where this has not been possible, he or she shall state to the Assembly the reason." End of quote. Finally, to the clerk and staff of the Assembly Service, thank you for the usual support and guidance throughout the process. I want to urge all of us to keep up the momentum and even do better. To the honorable members, I urge you to take note of the relevant provisions of the Constitution and the standing orders of the National Assembly during this ordinary session. I thank you so much, clerk. We may proceed.
Thank you. Correction and approval of record of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting of Friday, 11 July 2025.
Honorable members, the record of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting of Friday, 11 July 2025 is before us for correction and approval. Can any honorable member please move that the said record of votes and proceedings be considered and approved? Any honorable member, nominated member, Maimuna Sise.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to move the correction and approval of the records of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting on Friday, 11 July 2025 to be considered and approved.
Any seconder? The member for Sane Mentre. Today I am all gender sensitive.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to second the motion.
It has been moved and seconded that the record of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting of Friday, 11 July 2025 be approved. Any correction or observation from honorable members and may do so by show of hands. We will look at the record page by page, and of course, we will begin with page 1. Honorable members, on page 1. In the absence of any suggestion for correction on page 1, can we move to page 2, please? Page 3. Honorable members, on page 4. Page 5. Page 5, honorable members. Page 6. Page 7. Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the record of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting of Friday, 11 July, be approved without amendment. Those in favor, please say aye. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. Clerk, you may proceed.
Thank you. Statement by Honorable Minister. Order 94 sub 1. Oral ministerial statement on the implementation and monitoring of the annual budget by the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs.
Honorable members, as per the provision of Order 94.1 of the Standing Orders, the Vice President or a minister with responsibility of finance shall at least once during each session make an oral statement to the National Assembly on the implementation and monitoring of the annual budget. Accordingly, the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs is scheduled today to deliver his statement to the Assembly. May I now invite the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs to take the podium and make his statement. Honorable Minister.
Honorable Speaker, members of the August Assembly, I stand before you this morning to deliver the implementation update of the budget execution of the first half of 2025. Honorable Speaker, members of the Assembly, this brief provides an explanation of how government consolidated fund has been raised, managed, executed during the mid-year 2025. The brief highlights the key aspects of the budget, such as revenue, expenditure, and their performance. Additionally, it includes an analysis of the budget performance against our projections. The brief aims to offer an overview of government financial operations, allowing proper assessment of the effectiveness of the execution and management of the budget. It helps us make informed decisions and take appropriate action to ensure fiscal stability. Honorable Speaker, the summary and the key highlights of the mid-year 2025 budget performance. Total revenue, excluding project grants, performance for the first half of the year indicates a better outturn, reaching 13.78 billion compared to the same period a year ago, which was 10.69 billion. This represents an increment of 29% year-on-year and a 43% of the annual budget for 2025, which was 32.1 billion. This, when compared to the mid-year target of 12.61 billion, represents an overperformance of about 9%. The main drivers of this performance include an improvement in taxes on profits and capital gains, taxes on goods and services, taxes on international trade and transport, and the ministries, directorate and agencies' non-tax revenue. On the expenditure, total expenditure is about 14.51 billion compared to the annual budget target of 32.30 billion, representing an execution rate of about 45% for the first half of the year. The main drivers for this fiscal performance can be attributed to spending on personnel emoluments, which comprise 54% execution rate, subsidies and transfers, 53% execution rate, and domestic interest payments, 42% execution rate, 47% execution rate. Therefore, the budget balance recorded a deficit of 724.84 million as at the end of June 2024. Table 1 indicates the revenue performance in the different, broken down into different revenue expenditures as well as the net lending position. Honorable Speaker, the details of the consolidated revenue realized. The domestic revenue performance for the first half of the year amounted to 13.78 billion compared to an annual budget of 29.09 billion. This represents a 47% of domestic revenue collection rates in the reviewed period. This performance is mainly the result of a 55% collection of taxes on profit and capital gains, 55% collection of taxes on goods and services, and a 50% collection of taxes on international trade and transport, and no budget support or program grants were realized during this period under review. The table 2 indicates the various categories of revenues.
Honorable Minister,
Now,
the technicians want you to increase your voice a bit louder. So
okay. Yeah. Table 2 in, pardon? Yes. Table 2 is an indication of the different revenue categories with the budget mid-year turn, approved budget mid-year turn of 2024 compared to 2025, year-on-year variances, and the variance percentages and the execution rate of the budget. Top revenue performance. Honorable Speaker, taxes on profits and capital gains. Revenue from taxes on profits and capital gains grew by 26% from 2.95 billion in the first half of 2024 to reach 3.73 billion in the first half of 2025. This improvement is mainly attributable to a year-on-year increase in taxes payable both by individuals and corporates, and other enterprises of 46% and 60% respectively. Taxes on goods and services represent 55% collection rate compared to an annual target of 8.25 billion to reach 4.58 billion in the first half of 2025. This is mainly attributable due to the good performance of the general taxes on goods and services and excises, with the collection rates of 55% and 57% respectively. Taxes on international trade and transport recorded a performance of 50% compared to an annual budget of 5.87 billion, reaching 2.91 billion in the first half of 2025. Year-on-year, taxes on international trade and transport grew by 32%, 713 million from 2.2 billion the same period last year. This growth in taxes is the culmination of increased efficiency in tax administration, including the deployment of more enhanced customs system through digitalization. Consolidated expenditures. The detailed expenditure performance for the period under review is tabulated in Table 3 below, which is a consolidated approved budget 32 billion, outturn for the year 14.5, execution rate 45%, and the different categories of expenditures from personnel emoluments to other charges, interest, and capital expenditures are identified. The overall expenditure for the first half of the year amounted to 14.51 billion, which represents a 45% execution budget for the year. The main drivers of this expenditure include expenditure on personnel and subsidies and transfers to substandard entities. Personnel emoluments amounted to 4.74 billion, whereas subsidies and transfers amounted to 3.46 billion. Foreign expenditure represents 46% of its approved budget of 28.28 billion, which amounted to 13.14 for the period under review. However, 1.4 billion above the previous year's outlay. This is mainly driven by a 54% execution rate of personnel emoluments, 53% execution rate of subsidies and transfers, and a 47% execution rate of domestic interest payments. Also, the 34% year-on-year variance on personnel emolument is mainly attributed to government effort to increase salaries to civil servants. This is after the salary increment. Capital expenditure amounted to 1.37 billion, and it represents 36% of the approved budget of 3.78 billion. Compared to the corresponding period a year ago, capital expenditure declined by 9%, which is 140 million. Budget deficit for the period, although the overall budget for the year was a deficit projection of 198.33 million, a deficit of about 724.84 was incurred for the first half, with efforts being made to slow down the rate of execution of expenditures and the expected increase in performance of revenue, especially with the realization of program grants, which is the budget support. This deficit is expected to go down to meet the annual fiscal target. In conclusions, Mr. Speaker, the budget implementation for the first half of the year reflects strong domestic revenue performance, with collections exceeding the same period last year by 29%. This revenue overperformance underscores positive momentum in the fiscal mobilization effort. However, the increase in revenues have been accompanied by significant spending pressures, primarily driven by rising costs in debt interest payments, personnel emoluments, and subsidies and transfers to public institutions. Overall, the government expenditure rose by 9% compared to the same period last year, resulting in a budget deficit of 724.84 million. Moving forward, fiscal measures will continue to be implemented to ensure prudent budget execution while maintaining essential expenditures that support economic growth and development. Annex 1 is an indication of the GLF expenditure analysis year-on-year and their variances. And Annex 2 is the expenditure by budget entities for the year, first half of the year, by budget entities. It indicates the annual budget, the mid-year actual outcome, and the execution rate of the budget for the different entities. Annex 3 is the detailed revenue collection by the agencies into different revenue categories and the ministries that are in charge of revenue collection. With that, I submit, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable members, pursuant to Order 48-6 of the Standing Orders, and I quote, after the statement has been delivered in the Assembly, a period of questions on the statement, which shall last no more than 1 hour, may then ensue. The Speaker shall determine the period taken into consideration and the content of the statement, the number of members wishing to ask questions, and the pressure of other businesses. May I now invite honorable members to ask questions relating to the minister's reply. Member for Opanyomi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Honorable Speaker, let me also seize this opportunity to profusely thank the Honorable Minister for fulfilling his duty to the nation. Honorable Minister, thank you so much for delivering this wonderful, statement. Honorable Speaker, I just want the Honorable Minister to enlighten me. He said in the summary that where he has the key highlights of mid-year 2025 budget performance. Number one, he said the total revenue, excluding the project grants, performance for the first half of the year. I don't know why excluding the project grants, because these are the monies of the Gambia government and the Gambian people. So we should know how these monies are spent. That's my concern, because you cannot only bring us the GLF. We're also expecting to know how our project monies are going. Thank you so much.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. The budget implementation is on the Consolidated Revenue Fund, that is the GLF component. As you know, the project grants are under the development categories and the reporting framework, but it's a valid observation and this can be considered. But so far, the implementation is purely focused on the local revenues and expenditure. The project grants are not within the control of government alone. It depends on the contributions from the partners when they disburse and project execution. So, point noted, is a worthwhile observation. But the implementation is on information that the Ministry of Finance have in terms of how much revenue is raised domestically and how much it's expended. But there is no harm in also diving into project grants, which are projects being implemented. Thank you.
Thank you. Now the member for Bakau.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, it's important for us to be given the midterm budget performance. But to my understanding, will it not be ideal for us to be given the amount of budget spent from the approved budget for each ministry?
Honorable Speaker and Honorable Member for Bakau, exactly Annex 2 give the execution of the budget by business entities, from Office of the President to debt service interest payments is included in the report. Thank you.
Member for Brikama South.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My concern has been addressed by the Minister. Thank you.
Thank you. The member for Kiang West.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, can I have? Okay. Honorable Minister, if you look at the budget deficit, over 700 million in the first half of the year is incurred as budget deficit. And what would be the implications of this on various subsectors? And how did you deal with this situation as a ministry to ensure that it does not affect the system?
Honorable Minister, yes, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Member for Kiang West. Yes, as we have mentioned in the statement proper, the annual target budget deficit was 198 million, but the budget implementation is a function of when revenue flows in and when expenditures are made. For the first half, if you look at the overall budget, for the deficit of 198, it assumed all the revenues will be in, all the expenditures in, and that is the net deficit. But as we know, budget support, which comprise a large part of the budget, tend to come in the second half of the year. No budget support has been realized in the first half, but meanwhile, the expenditures have been going. So we tend to have, if you look at the growth rate of the expenditure, it is faster than the growth rate than the revenue. That's why you have a temporary offshoot of your deficit. But when the budget supports come in and other revenue items, which we are expecting in the second half, we expect this to come down to the level where it was envisaged for the overall budget. Thank you.
Member for Sabah Sanjal, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, you made mention in your statement that the main drivers of this expenditure include subsidies and personal emoluments. Can you be specific on the subsidies? What are you subsidizing, and what effect, what positive effect does it have as far as addressing challenges that are faced by the people is concerned? Because I believe if you are subsidizing a specific good, it could have a positive impact on the lives of people. So can you be specific on the subsidies? What actually do you subsidize? Thank you.
Much Honorable Speaker and Honorable Member for Sabah Sanjal. Yes, the category is subsidies and transfers. It has a combination of both. And it's a very worthwhile observation, and the subsidies were primarily to the agricultural sector, and they are mainly for the crop financing. As you know, when we price the groundnut, we price them above market rate. And that's why our farmers have been able to receive record crop price for the ton of groundnut compared to what they obtain in the market. When we price the crop finance, particularly for groundnut, deliberately government will pitch the sales price per ton above what will be the market price. So that has been one element of the subsidy. The second element of the subsidy is the fertilizer. A bag of fertilizer at market price about 2,800, but we are selling to the farmers at 1,100. So literally we are subsidizing for every bag of fertilizer about 1,700. The combination of these two are what form into the subsidies aspect. And certainly we believe this is important, as farmers are an important constituency. Yes. The farmers are important contributors in the economy. Without these subsidies, a bag of fertilizer will literally be unaffordable, because technically it will be priced more than a bag of rice. And that will affect not only the agricultural productivity, but also the expenses for the farmers. Equally, on the crop financing, if we do not price our crops, particularly groundnut, at above market price, we believe it will not give the farmers the income to upkeep their livelihoods. A third element of the subsidy is the energy sector. That is NAWEC. Today, the tariff in NAWEC is below cost recovery. For every kilowatt hour that we are paying at car power, government is subsidizing more than 30%. So that is the tariff structure of the energy sector. So those are the three elements of subsidy. And this is very worthwhile to note because literally every Gambian with the enhanced electricity expansion, the gap between the overall cost of energy production and what is in the tariff are wide. As such, the subsidy element to the energy sector is ballooning. In fact, over the last 12 months, the government has spent more than $50 million to subsidize the energy sector. Thank you.
Thank you. Member for Fonyi Councillor, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. Honorable Minister, looking at the report that you have said, mainly about 54% on-call personal emolument. And also you've said year in, year out, that is a 34% is also on-call based on the increment of salaries. I also want to be explicitly clear. Ministry of Public Service Administrative Reform did a reform of ghost workers in hundreds. Has it not have an issue to reflect and you tell us a decrease in terms of PEs, because these are people who are employed and they're not in service, and the public said they are all ghost workers, and there's no reflection in your this explanation showing a portion of that element. Can you clarify us here in terms of PEs?
The overall PE budget has increased, and of course, the Ministry for Public Service Administrative Reforms and Delivery has, in its course of staff exercise, identified ghost workers. But as you know, the phenomenon of ghost workers is as follows. By the time you discover a ghost worker, he would have been paid for the period before you discovered him. And it will take you steps to even recall or stop with the salary. So for the first half of the year, the discovery of ghost workers has not been significant enough to have the growth rate of the expenditure far exceeds any savings that is emanating from ghost workers, because the total ghost workers is below the increase in overall wage bill. Also, don't forget, the labor force or the component of the civil servant service is not stagnant. Entities are recruiting. So it is not what you are putting forward would have worked if you have a constant number of civil service and ghost workers detected. So as a result, it should have a downward impact. But recruitment is being done. So some of those ghost workers recruitment are even more than the ghost workers discovered in some of the agencies. So while this is positive, but the decline is not to an extent that it will have an impact on the wage bill. Thank you.
Honorable Member for Banjul North, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I will say it is very good to be back again for another important session. Honorable Minister, I would want to commend you for coming up with such a statement at a very timely situation. But I just want to give reference to the title of the document that is shared with us. That has to do with the mid-year 2025 budget performance brief. And going through the document, I realized that the entire focus is on the JLF. So I just want clarity on why not the general budget. Because talking about the budget performance, I am expecting everything as far as the entire budget is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Member for Banjul North. Yes, this is a valuable observation, but like I have mentioned earlier, the non-GLF component principally the development budget, is implemented in consultation with the partners. And the implementation is of a nature that it depends on the project execution, where the time lag for information is a bit more longer than the GLF budget. So as such, if you look at even the requirements of the Public Finance Act, it is to concentrate on the government local funds, not the overall budget. That was the requirement of the Public Finance Act, simply because of these differences. But we don't mind, as a ministry, to provide supplementary information in future reports on the implementation of development budget as we have them. Thank you.
Thank you. Member for Lower Salem, you have the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, on document that the revenue has overperformed, on document, but in actual expenditure, ministries, agencies do say that they finally to get their allocations in time. But in document, you have overperformed on revenue. What is the cause of those reactions? That whether this the budget is not performed by program-based budgeting, but that we know. Our budget works according to the program-based budgeting. We have not seen it here, because if you check on the Annex 2, the Ministry of Agriculture, the first year, the first year that quarterly year that you report here, you budget for $355 million. That was the first report that you gave us. This time, the mid-year review, you gave us the figures, 808,186,000. That are variance of 84% of the budget. What is the cause of this? Because the report that you gave us earlier, with this, there's a difference in budget. Honorable Minister, you check on the personal emolument. I asked you initially, on the government payroll, we have how many people on our government payroll? But then there was no response on that one. But then in your first quarter, Honorable Speaker, if you could allow me to read this one on my mobile phone. The personal emolument 2.337 billion was more than the quarter one budget. That's 2.188 billion by 7%. This could be attributed to the higher wages billed than expected. There is a significant expenditure in the services and transfer 2.4 billion, which is 9% over its quarter budget, 1.867 billion. You check on this one. If I compare the overall expenditure for the first half of the year, amounting of 14.5 billion, which presents 45% of the budget of the year. The main drive of the expenditures includes expenditure on personal emolument, PEs and subsidies and transfer of subventions. Institutions, PEs amount of 4.7 billion, whereas that's in transfer amount of 3.46 billion. Honorable Minister, that's page 4.
what is happening? Or don't you people budget the amount of payroll on government? Or you just pay according to what is requested? Because if there is any, as the member said, there are ghost workers that was published on the public space. But still, we haven't seen that the budget that line that you gave us and the expenditure on it is far huge. Then you go to the communication area, over 255%.
Honorable member, you are supposed to ask a question. Please ask a question.
Yes, I am doing so. Yes, I'm doing so.
Please go ahead.
That let me conclude on paper that you have overperformed revenue, but if you go to the expenditure side, you make your expenditure over the budget. There are expenditures that comes in that you pay without the budget one that you have budgeted in our national budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I took note that the Honorable Member for Lower Salem has requested 3 questions. One is about the budget execution as far as payroll is concerned. Personnel. I will start with the latter one. Yes, the way the budget works is personnel emoluments are administered by the Personnel Management Office. And the Accountant General, which is an arm of the Ministry of Finance, executes payments on the advice of the PMO. This doesn't work as you intimated to say, when it comes to payment of personnel emoluments, we'll say this was the budget and this only what we can pay. Budget is a plan, it's a forecast, and what we have indicated here is that the wage bill has increased, and that increase is on the backdrop of the overall payroll increase for the civil service. But we are not able to curtail expenditures simply in order to rein in, to say, once people are employed, they have vested rights. You cannot employ somebody and say, no, I will not pay you because the body cannot accommodate you. It is expected that by the time you onboard somebody, you have prepared the necessary finances to be able to service him, because every employee has a legal right to be paid for having done work. And come the end of the month, you cannot say, will not pay you because the budget has issues. And it is not that the budget has issues, but as far as personnel emolument is concerned, this is a forecast, and recruitments happen, as well as identification of ghost workers did happen. But you realize that the identification of the ghost workers, similar to my earlier response, was not of a quantum reduction to the point it offsets both additional hires as well as overall payroll increase. That's why you will see the budget for personnel emoluments increase in the first half, in the second half compared to both the prior years. But it's still within budget for the year. Then the second question is about agriculture, why large increases? Yes, it's disproportionate because the subsidies and transfers, particularly of fertilizer and crop finance, affect the agricultural ministry. That's why you will see the execution rate to be at 84% in the first half of the year. That's one. And you also intimated that revenue performance, while increasing, still sectors are complaining not being able to be allocated enough money for their expenditure. Yes, we have explained that. When budgets are designed, it's a plan. Then you spend based on realization. While the revenues have increased, but they have not increased as much as the increase in the expenditure base. If you look at the overall increase, that's why we have an overall deficit. The expenditure grew faster than the revenues. That's why you have an overall deficit of 700. If they are working in tandem, there would have been no deficit. And the principal reason is, and I will hasten to explain, why we are going this way is the overall objective is to keep the indebtedness of the country down, to keep the debt level down, because the deficit has to be financed. and it has to be financed through borrowing. So the larger the deficit, the more your borrowing will be. And today, part of the pillars of the ministry is to work on bringing down the overall debt. So that's why we cannot allocate to sectors just through borrowing. We can only allocate to sectors within the limits. We have limits with the central bank that our overdrawn account balance can only reach. And we have every quarter a targeted what we call net domestic borrowing limit, where our overall borrowing should not exceed. So these have been the basis of why the budget has been executed. And the simple and long and short answer to allocation, which sectors have been complaining, would be, if the budget is fully funded, like the revenues are there to support the expenditures, there would have been no need for allocation. And it is not our interest as a ministry to do this allocation. What we want to do is to allow the sector to spend as legislated. But unfortunately, the fiscal space is not there. And that's why we are urging every party, both the revenue authorities as well as the MDAs, to mobilize revenue collection so that as the revenue is collected, more execution of expenditure can follow. Thank you.
Member Kupusumbala, you have the floor. It's out. Member Punyamina Dankungu.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, on table consolidated revenue and expenditure, I want you actually to help me. I find it difficult to read the writing because they are so small. But also you excuse me, maybe it's because of my ignorance, but I want you to help me here. Okay, on total expenditure on project and grants, what was approved, you say, is 32 billion. 104,307. Then you have what you call mid-year over outcome of, that is 2025. Then you have the variance. Here I wanted to help me, how do you get to the variance? Because when I minus 13 billion from 32 billion, the variance would be 18 billion. The variance. You take note. The second one also, if you minus 13 billion from 29 billion, the variance is about 15 billion. So maybe I am not doing the right calculation. I need you help me understand how do you get to the variance. Then on the other table, Honorable Minister, that is on the expenditure by PE analysis in DMD mid-year 2025. If you look at the percentages, Honorable Minister, you have only 4 ministries that their budget execution have gone beyond 50%. That is the Ministry of Defense, Interior, Agriculture, and Basic Education. All other ministries falls, their percentage is very low, meaning the budget execution rate, other than this ministry, looking at we are almost at the end of the year, the budget execution rate is slow. Then on the same page, you have Ministry of Energy. What they were allocated was $1 billion. That was what they were allocated as, 1,263 million. But their budget execution rate is 7%. Only 7%. Meaning they spend only 85,979.9. There is something wrong. Only 7%. That's what they spend, according to what you gave us. Then you go to the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy. They have spent...
Honorable Member, please limit your
Yes, I'm coming. I'm getting my answer. These are answers. It's clarification. They are questions.
How many questions?
Ministry
how
of
many-
Ministry of
Honorable-
Communication and Digital Economy.
Honorable member,
Yes.
you are to ask a question, but it's like you're going from one ministry to another.
Yes, because all fall under this table. All the clarification I wanted is under the same table. So Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy, you have spent 255% of their budget. So we need an an explanation on that expenditure. And if you look at that ministry, on the detailed revenue collection, detailed revenue collection by collecting agency. Look at the ministry itself, Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy. They are falling down. Look at what they were expected in 2025 was 71 million from 71 million, 2025 35 million, and 8 million. So the ministry revenue collection is falling down, and yet you have spent 255% of their budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Member for Nyamina Dankungu, for your notable observations. I will start with the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy. The disproportionate expenditure of 255 relates to the compensation paid to the GAMCEL and GAMCEL staff. Because, as you know, the severance package for the reform of GAMCEL and GAMCEL had to be paid through the ministry. And that was why that amount of the over expenditure happened. That payment was from government and it went through that ministry. So all the expenditures went. That's why it is disproportionate, because that amount was not in the budget for the ministry at the year, but the execution came in the middle of the year. So we had to allocate funds to be able to meet these expenditures to GAMTEL and GAMCEL staff. I'm sure we are all aware that publicly they have acknowledged receiving support from government, and that is the over expenditure there. For the Minister of Energy, the low implementation, this could be mainly the overall running cost of the ministry, as the support to the energy sector is, we have raised funds through the capital market, where we have used to pay, and those payments are done quarterly. So this is mainly for the operational, but we will look into this. Is an outlier, and for the clarification and revert back with a proper explanation. On table 1, the year-on-year variance that you have mentioned, it is not against the budget. It is year-on-year variance, that is 2024 versus 2025. So the computation is not against the budget, but against the values of 2024 compared to 2025. And if you do those sums, the numbers are right. It is not against the budget, but year on year. That means 2024 versus 2025. Thank you.
The member for Brikama North and Minority Leader.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, on the sharp increase in the budget deficit, could you clarify why the actual deficit in just half the year is more than 3 times the projected deficit for the entire year? And also, could you provide details on the main factors that have driven this sharp increase in the deficit? Is it primarily due to shortfalls in revenue collection, or has it been caused by unanticipated expenditures?
Thank you very much. We have explained in the text to say that the deficit was more than budget simply because the expenditures were far more than the budget for the period. And these are due to expenditures growing faster. I have just explained that the compensation paid to GAMCEL and GAMTEL staff, that explain the overshoot of the expenditure to that ministry, the heightened increase in subsidies and transfers So technically, the deficit is more than what was envisaged at the year end, simply because in the first half of the year, more expenditures did take place than the revenue. In fact, revenue grew, but the expenditure grew at a faster rate than the expenditure. This is the explanation. And what we envisage as a ministry, when the second half execution of the budget takes place and budget support and other expected inflows come in, we expect the deficit to come to the level of the year-end projections. Thank you.
Thank you. The member for Banjul Central, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, part of my questions were actually asked by the Honorable Member of Nyamena Dankunku. I would only, not to take much time, I would just like to pay focus mostly on your ministry's forecast, basically. Because, for example, given the revenue up by 29%, like, this has not been really translated into a lower deficit based on what we are able to see. And also, if you pay attention to your ministry, it's like the interest and personal emoluments are really, choking the sectors when it comes to these issues. And my fear is, are these things sustainable? Because they are also a deterrent to, like, for example, putting down capital projects, for example, because we are increasing emoluments, and then there's been a decrease in capital projects. And my final question would be, Honourable Minister, still on on your ministry's forecasting. The ministry expects deficits to fall only if if we receive, let's say, program grants from external sources. You understand? So and that what are other contingency plans if these things do not materialize? Yes.
Thank you. Well, the focus of the ministry is an amalgam of the contribution and submission from the entire public sector. Because if you look at the budget, it's a bottom-up approach. What we tabled before the National Assembly is what we receive as submission from the sectors. And the sectors are in charge of their operations. So it's not our inability to forecast, is all a function of the entire government-wide system. If the sectors plan activities and related expenditures or budgets which are not realizable, it will be very difficult for the ministry to enhance its forecasting capability here, because it's not a situation where it's top-down. If it is a top-down approach, what you would do, you would say, look, based on my forecast, this is what every sector can do. We've been trying to do that by sending out circulars, but we all know these circulars are not adhered to. We send circulars to all the agencies, but what we end up having as a budget from almost all the sectors far exceed the limits we have given them. So that makes it a bit difficult in terms of increasing the predictability of the forecast, because it's a bottom-up approach, it's a contribution from all the sectors, and it's not forecast that necessarily we direct to say we are envisaging next year expenditure not to grow by 5%, and the entire system should just look at that. We will give those advices at the budget preparation stage, but as you know, the budget process, sometimes what actually is approved far exceeds the advice we give out. So that is on that. Interest and personnel emoluments always take precedence in terms of budget executions, because these are mandatory. You cannot not pay people simply because of budget issues. And also, if you borrow money from the market, you must pay back. Otherwise, the failure to pay will be like financial distress or default. And we are not at that stage. So that's why you will see these are commitments that are binding and they are almost locked. You cannot default on them. They are not variable, but in terms of sectors, you can manage some of their operations which are variable, which are manageable and have no contractual impact. Because if, for example, we do not pay interest, the bondholders can take government to court because government guarantees them. That's why they have the confidence to invest. If we don't pay people simply because of budget issues, they can take government to court to say, I have worked and you did not pay me. Why? But if, for example, a sector ministry wants to do a workshop, unfortunately, we have not given them enough money to do the workshop. There are no implications. So these are how the budgets are implemented. Thank you.
Member for Upper Fuladu West, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Thank you so much. Anyway, I just have a concern and a question that I want to ask. Going through the midterm budget performance, if you go through Annex 2, you explain to the Parliament.
Can you please speak a bit louder?
That you explain to Parliament that the surge in the budget execution of Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy. Because if you look at Annex 2, that the particular budget that was budgeted for that particular ministry was 96,212,000. And then we have seen that already payment have been done, that is 245 million. Am I right? So,
Honorable Member, I hope you are not repeating.
pardon?
Can you put off your mic, please? I hope you are not repeating what was asked. Honorable members, please, I'm not asking you. No. Can you please complete what you want to say?
Yes, it's not repetition. Now, what I'm saying, looking at what was budgeted and what is executed, the variances is too big. What I want to ask the Honorable Minister, it is not ideal for the Minister to inform the Parliament before this execution is done. That's my question.
Well, thank you very much for the question, Honorable Member. But there is a tool in the Public Finance Act because a budget is a forecast. If exigencies come by, the Public Finance Act allows the minister to vary from sectors or budgets that have funds to sectors that need the funds. And it's exactly that section of the Act we have invoked in order to do this payment. Thank you.
Thank you. Member for Sanementring, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, in Table 2 on page 3, where you have the consolidated revenue table, and right in the middle, you have taxes on specific services. I just need clarity on what you mean by the taxes on specific services, and what specific services do you mean by that? I need clarity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. These are different codes of taxes because, taxes are collected based on codes and categories of services. So I think it's a classification issue for the Revenue Authority. If a transaction comes up which is not within the other categories and is very specific, they can put that revenue under that category. That's what it means. But we have not known what specific services, like one-off, not part of the ordinary. Like, for example, estate, all the other defined categories of taxes are here. But if it is not, I think that's when the revenue authorities can use this code to plug that as revenue for that line. Thank you.
Thank you. Member for Serekunda, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Minister. What independent mechanisms are in place to monitor budget implementation across ministries, departments, and agencies, and how often are these reports made public?
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. The mechanism, one is what we are doing today, to come and brief the National Assembly on the budget execution as an oversight. And the Budget Directorate also prepares reports periodically and updates the minister, who in turn inform the executive as oversight. Also, every ministry has an internal audit directorate staff where expenditures are vetted prior to them being executed. So this is the monetary mechanism of budget execution in government. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, I want to thank you for that statement and
Honorable
for
Speaker.
honorable members for
Honorable Speaker.
asking their question. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister.
Yes, with your intelligence, can you also have a clarity on one issue?
Please.
Please.
What?
I want a clarity on the issue of this budget implementation. One issue, please. Please.
What?
No, because I was checking on the budget. I want you to just allow the minister to respond on that issue. The issue of Gamtel Gamcel,
No.
whether it was budget, because I was trying to check on the budget.
Honorable, you know that's out of order.
Yeah, but this is why I said, for your discretion, I mean. At your discretion, I mean. Yes, please. Please.
Please take your seat. But that's out of order, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member. Yeah, but yeah. And I don't want you to make statements. Please just go straight to the point.
Honorable Minister, thank you. We do that update. With this, the member for Nyamidanku asks you, did the Gamtel Gamcel their pay of it was budget on the 2025 budget or not? Because I have looked at the budget. I've
No,
not seen
just
anywhere.
ask your question. Ask your question.
I've not
That's
seen
all.
anywhere it's budgeted.
Honorable, please.
Honorable Speaker, and honorable member, that's exactly what my answer was. This was not in the budget, and we have wired from codes that could absorb this payment. And it's within the Public Finance Act.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I want to thank you for those questions provided, and I want to thank honorable members for that. Thank you, Honorable Minister. You may go. Honorable members, at this juncture, I would like to suspend the assembly for 30 seconds. Sergeant at Arm, what are you doing? Sergeant at Arm, what are you doing? You cannot be on your phone when you're in the chambers. I'll suspend the assembly for 30 seconds. for the second reading in accordance with Standing Order 66 of 2. Therefore, pursuant to Order 67 of the Standing Orders, honorable members, please. Dankungwan orders, please, order. Therefore, pursuant to Order 67 of the Standing Orders, I now invite the Honorable Attorney General and Minister for Justice to move a motion for the second reading of the bill entitled Judicial Officers, that is Condition of Service Bill 2025. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wish to move that bill entitled Judicial Officers Conditions of Service Bill 2025 be read the second time. Honorable Speaker, the objects and reasons of this bill is it is introduced in fulfillment of Chapter 7 of the 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia, which guarantees the independence of the judiciary as a co-equal branch of government and vests the Judicial Service Commission with the responsibility of overseeing matters related to the terms and conditions of service of judicial officers. This bill also seeks to give effect to Section 120, Paragraph 3 of the Constitution, which states that, I quote, "The judiciary shall be independent and shall be subject only to the Constitution and the law." The independence is not merely symbolic, it must be supported by adequate and secure conditions of service, including fair and protected remuneration. Furthermore, this bill gives effect to Section 142 of the Constitution, which, in addition to requiring that an Act of National Assembly prescribe the salary, allowances, gratuity, and pension of a judge, also prohibits the reduction of judges' salary or other entitlements to their disadvantage. Honorable Speaker, on those terms, I beg to move. Thank you.
Any seconder, the member for Nyanija.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to second the motion and then equally want to show my support for this bill. Honorable Speaker, the importance of this bill cannot be overemphasized as far as it is fulfilling some constitutional provisions as stated by the Attorney General in his motion. And of course, going through the bill, there are many issues which you know that at the level of the committee stage, we can fine tune and then agree to disagree. But I just want to beg on the indulgence of honorable members for us to pass this bill once and then grant the judiciary, of course, the independence they deserve. Like
Point of order,
a
Honorable Speaker.
full-fledged arm of government.
Point of order.
There is a point of order from the member for Fonye Councillor.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker. I am raising a point of order to the Constitution. Yes. I'm raising my point of order to the Constitution. Section 41, 2(1). 2(1). Yes.
What happened with the Constitution, please, sir?
Yes, I said I'm raising a point of order on the current discussion, the bill that we are.
Okay,
Yes.
can we hear that?
Section 41, 2(1). It says a judge of a superior court shall be entitled to such salaries, allowances on retirement, such gratuity and pensions as may be prescribed by an act of the National Assembly. 42(1). Yes, what I'm just trying to lay, this is a bill.
Honorable member, you are quoting the wrong section. Can you please?
Sorry, 142. Section 142, 42. Enumeration of judges.
Yes, and what about 142 too? Yeah, can we hear that?
Yes, what I'm just saying, I'm reading, it said a judge of a superior court shall be entitled to such salary, allowances, and retirement, such gratuity and pensions as may be prescribed by an act of the National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, currently, we vividly informed that the current salaries of the superior courts have exceeded even the schedule that is before this bill. So therefore, I am of the view that we should not entertain this bill.
Honorable member, please take your seat.
Yes, it's a joke. We should not entertain it.
Honorable member, take your seat, please. You cannot do that.
Honorable Speaker,
What?
point of order.
Who is that? You can't do that. You have to wait. Let me rule first. You can't do that. Please take your seat, member for Ponyi Councillor. You are out of order. You cannot waste the time of the
No
assembly.
need. Currently,
please.
we have the view
No,
that
no,
the
take your-
salaries of the judges have increased, and we have evidence for that. So we
Honorable
cannot
member, you don't
entertain
have
this-
you don't
this-
have
this
evidence.
bill.
Can you sit down, please? When you have evidence, give us evidence. You cannot tell us that the current salaries and whatever of judges exceeded what schedule without evidence. Is that a point of order? That's out of order, sir. You cannot do that. The member for Lower Salem, can we hear your point of order?
Honorable Speaker, you see, the point of order here is, this is the rule of
Honorable, don't make a statement.
No,
Put-
no. The
Take your
procedure
seat,
is
please.
wrong.
No, take your
now,
seat.
order 8.
Honorable member, you know what to do. Please don't waste our time. On what? Use your mic and tell us under what order.
Orders 8. Yes,
Standing
of course.
order?
Of course, yes.
Order 8 of the standing orders. Yes, and what about that?
There's Speaker's ruling. There's 2. The decision made in a paragraph 1 shall be based on the Constitution and the status law, see the President's customs and etc. Honorable Speaker, you could have not even entertained the member, because if you ask for the point of order, means the rule of the procedure should guide you to go back to the Constitution that you are set. This should be the first guidance, then you proceed where you want to go. But you cannot ask for the point of order, and you're now acting of the 1997 Constitution. Honorable Speaker, you could have, based on the standing order process. But each of us cannot stand in the front of the House, point of order, go to the Constitution directly. No, that's not our standing process.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, you are raising the fact that he should not have. All right. Now your order is on 8. The decision made in paragraph 1 shall be based on the Constitution, the statute law, the precedents, customs, procedures, traditions, and practice of the Assembly. Honorable members, I think the objective here is, in the event that there's a matter and it is not expressly expressed in the standing orders, then we fall back to the Constitution, the order, statute law, customs, precedents, and traditions of Parliament. That's what he's saying. Sometimes we do our best when people raise matter of constitutionality. We listen to them, we allow them, so that we will make best use of their judgment, personal judgment or views on that as they relate to the constitutional provision. But nevertheless, he could not rely on that provision, because at the end of the day, what he submitted was a hearsay. He could not provide any evidence for that matter, and it has no effect on the proposal tabled by the Attorney General and Minister for Justice. The Honorable Member for Nyanija, can you proceed?
Speaker, I also have an observation.
Honorable members, for
Section
Serekunda, you are out
142
of
of the
order.
Constitution.
You are out of order.
Of order, yeah.
You are out of order. Member Ponyanija, please continue.
Point of order.
All right. Can we hear your point of order, sir? On what order?
Yeah. My point of order will be on Section 142 of the Constitution, remuneration of judges. As he rightly read, a judge of a superior court shall be entitled to such salaries, allowances, and on retirement, such gratuity and pensions as may be prescribed by an act of the National Assembly. Yes, that's what we are. Thank you. That's what we are doing. But here,
members, allow him
in
to
the interpretation,
allow
here,
him to
in
make
the
his
bill,
submission, please. Allow him to make his submission.
interpretation in the bill, judge means Chief Justice or a justice of a superior court of the Gambia. And again, but this bill, what it's trying to introduce is like, it is introducing salaries of judicial officers. And what the Constitution is saying salaries of judges, not judicial officers. Which means during the time of the drafting of this Constitution, there was a framework that governs the remuneration of those judicial officers. So it will be conflicting with our Constitution. Thank you very much.
Honorable member, until and unless the superior courts or the courts decide otherwise, is the primary responsibility of Parliament to enact laws. And in enacting those laws, as stated by the 1997 Constitution, it's a responsibility to appropriate. And that's what we are doing. And we are in order. Please, honorable members, you are doing your number one function. You know, the function of members of the National Assembly is legislation, representation, and oversight. And you are doing the legislation here. And that the Constitution stated that their salaries, pension, whatsoever, is to be determined and enacted by members of Parliament through an act of Parliament. And that's what we are doing. Thank you.
I think you understand what I'm trying to say, the point I'm trying to make. How about the civil service? Have we ever enacted a bill, an act that will regulate their salaries?
Every year, in fact, thank you. Can you please? That's why every year, following the presentation of the budget, the minister presents the bill, the appropriation bill, an act of Parliament, and you enact it. It's a law. Please. Nyanija, please continue.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much. I think it was healthy. And then this just emphasized the fact that this bill is very important and it is long overdue. Because looking at the objects and reason, it is very clear, and then it is very clearly stated. Even by looking at the previous bills that came here, and they were withdrawn. In fact, if you look at both the objects and reasons highlighted there, and of course what is highlighted here, you will see that the independence of the judiciary, and of course their impartiality in performing their functions, and many other important aspects as far as their process and proceedings are concerned. This will address all that because it talks about remuneration and of course pensions and gratuities. So this bill is very, very important and it's timely. Honorable Speaker, you see the judiciary is the independent arm of government like the National Assembly and of course the executive. And then sometimes back, a bill of this similar nature, actually I wouldn't say the same, came here, but unfortunately it was rejected. But I think it was just based on misconception that the fact they are trying to increase the judiciary, their salaries here and there. And then I think that we shouldn't go up to that level because this is a constitutional provision. And whether we approve this or not, there's already a schedule that they have been paid on with. And then now what we are doing is just to streamline and of course upgrade for them to have the independence as we are also having as a parliament and of course other independent arm of the government. So thank you very much once again, and I once again indulge and urge all honorable members for us to give this bill a smooth sailing to the consideration stage for us to do the necessary things. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Nyanija. Honorable members, in accordance with Order 67, Sub 1 of the Standing Orders, I will now open the floor for debate on the general merits and principle of the bill. Any honorable member who wishes to take part in the debate may do so now by show of thanks. In fact, a lot of you made it on my list. We will now begin with the member for Ponye Bintang Karanai.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As I said it initially, my stand remains the same. I am not a chameleon. I do not change with the passage of time. And no amount of words can confuse us regarding judiciary officers and condition of service. It was judiciary enumeration bill. You just went and changed from judiciary enumeration bill. They gave us now what? Judiciary officers condition of service bill. The way we rejected the other one, it is the same way we are going to reject this one. And what we said is clear and is audible. That is, we can remunerate salaries for everybody. For the entire civil servants, we can remunerate salaries. We know the salaries are bad. We admit the salaries are bad. But we cannot single out these people and say we are going to remunerate salaries for the judiciary. I am not part of it today, tomorrow, and forever, and no amount of confusion can confuse me for me to accept this. And that remains clear. And I told them clearly that you just come here and tell us that this and that and that. You have to be clear to us on what you want. And I said it last time when I was speaking. I said, you can go and do whatever you feel like, but you cannot use the National Assembly. You cannot use the National Assembly to say that you are going to increase salaries unconstitutional or in any format. That we are not accepting today, and we are not going to accept it forever. The reason we have all seen the situation, the living condition of everybody is hard. So the problem is, why should we single out the judiciary and say we are going to increase their salary? Are they the only people that are in need of it? Everybody in this country is suffering. Looking at inflation, this skyrocketing of price in the country. Everybody is in need of this.
Observation.
And we understand that we all going through hard time, but as of now, as of today, for me, I am not going to support it.
Observation, please. Observation.
Please, Section 7. And as I said, even if everybody is to support it, I, as an individual, I am not ready to support this judiciary officers' condition. Because the only thing that is changed is condition, officers' condition. Judiciary enumeration is still changed to condition. So I'm not accepting it, and I am not ready to accept it. I am voting against it. And even if I have to vote against it alone, I am ready to vote against it. I thank you.
The honorable member for Kiang West, you have the floor.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. I think this is the second time we're taking part in the debate to discuss the service, but the benefits of the judiciary officers. The conditions of service bill, the content, and the content of the judiciary officers' remunerations, pensions, and other entitlement bill are the same content, not different. And in fact, there are slightly increments in some of the areas if you go into the specifics of the bill. But however, Honorable Speaker, from the minister's statement referring the Assembly to a constitutional provision that demands that there has to be an act of Parliament to determine these benefits, to determine this entitlement. Now, if we do not want to promulgate an act to determine it,
Are we asking them to do it leveraging? Are we giving them a leverage? Like what is happening now? It is our responsibility if they give us 150,000 for the Chief Justice to either say, no, we are moving it up to 250,000 or we are reducing it to 100,000 or 75,000. It is our responsibility. We have the powers to do that. And last time it happened here, and I continuously echo that, to say, I am happy today, my very own friends who said they rejected the Constitution in 2020 because of this provision, rejected it previously, but they are now supporting it. And they have agreed that we were misinformed. But however, I want to remain consistent as a member of parliament to say because when it came,
your time. Time is 1 hour.
Honorable Speaker.
Order.
Honorable Speaker, 3 minutes was never mentioned.
Order.
Yeah, please.
Honorable members. Honorable members.
But 3 minutes was never mentioned.
Please, okay, take your seat. Order, honorable members. Order, please. Honorable members, order, please. Honorable members, order. I had some members complaining that it is not 1 hour. It was members were never informed. That is wrong. Honorable members, you have your order paper.
Honorable Speaker, it's on the order paper.
No, please, don't use your mic, sir. Don't do that, please. No, please. Sit down. Okay, sit down, please. Honorable. Yes.
Honorable Speaker, what I want to make emphasis is that I was listening to you keenly, looking at the order paper.
Honorable members, please, let's listen to each other. Musu, this one should be subtracted from the 1 hour.
Yes, can I go ahead?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, I just want us to help each other because, like I said, I was listening to you keenly. During the 4th item of the order paper, you can see on the order paper that even 1 hour was not mentioned. But when you were giving your statement, you said within 1 hour. That's what you said. You said we should have this session with the Minister of Finance within 1 hour. But it is not stated here on the order paper. Item 5, which talks about what is currently happening right now. No, I just want to help. When you were making your statement, you never mentioned 1 hour.
No, please sit down. Yeah, please continue. Honorable member, please go. Honorable member for Banjul North, continue.
So what I was trying to say, when you look at the order paper, item 5, there is already 1 hour indicated. But when you were giving your statement, you never mentioned it. So that is what we want to clarify.
Thank you. Honorable member for Banjul North. Thank you very much because you were murmuring that it is not stated, it is not said. Now you confirm that it is on the order paper. Thank you. Yes, member for Lower Badibu.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I believe you yourself you are wasting our time because already it is indicated on the order paper that it is 1 hour. So why should we waste our time? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Member for Lower Badibu. No, is the member for Banjul North was claiming that there is no 1 hour, and the members were murmuring. I gave him the opportunity. He want to make a statement. He said to help us. Let him help us. And in the process, members showed him the order paper. Maybe he didn't read the order paper. Now he has confirmed that it's 1 hour. So it's okay now. Now, let me make this clear. It's the Speaker's duty or responsibility, considering the number of people who want to intervene that we receive at our desk here, to determine the 1 hour and the number of times. And in fact, on precedents and custom or traditions, it has always been precedent, 3 minutes or 1 hour, 5 minutes, depending on the number of members who wish to take part. And in this instance, we have a lot of members. In fact, we are afraid that others may not be able to contribute based on the 3 minutes. So now, remember for Banjul North,
Honorable
you have
Speaker,
the floor.
Honorable Speaker, that is not the precedent. What used to happen, if you give us 1 hour and a lot of members request to participate, Honorable Speaker used to put to us, I have a lot of members on my list. I have a long list, and we have only 1 hour on this matter to discuss. Can we look at this matter and give 3 minutes to each member? Otherwise, very little members will participate. That is the precedent that has been set here. That is the precedent, but these 3 minutes has never been discussed. Had you put to us that we have...
Minority, then Lower Salum.
Yes, Honorable Speaker. I think there was somehow miscommunication in the sense that the duration for the debate is indicated is 1 hour. However, how do we break this down? Maybe that is what members were not informed, and that's why we got into the debate. Thus, the person who seconded the motion could do it at any time. But after finishing his debate, he should have reminded members that because of the limited time, the duration for each member to take in the debate should be so and so minutes so that they can be reminded and understand. I think that's where miscommunication came.
Thank you. Member for Lower Salum.
You see, this is, Honorable, this is simple logic. Still now, that other state give the discussion of the speaker, that if you get the list of the members. This is what I was complaining since day one for this timing issue. But the floor of the House said, no, we have agreed. Now 1 hour is given to us. Already we have approved the order paper. Now it's a simple logic. You know how much the list that you have. In fact, it could be in fact 3 minutes. In fact, it's not in fact it's too much. But it could be your discretion now to give us time. So we have approved it, and it's a custom that we have approved by ourselves. So let's bear with it. I've been complaining this issue since.
Yes, Honorable Member for Lower Salum, thank you. You are right. Honorable members, you know, we have approved 1 hour and the Speaker's discretion considering the number of people, and we decided 3 minutes. But nonetheless, I can still throw it to you. You want 3 minutes or 2 minutes or 1 minute or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. If it is 10 minutes, when we have 10 people, or how many people? 6 people, that will be 1 hour.
Yes, Honorable Speaker. Motion.
And you know, the member for Kiang West used 3 minutes, and I would probably want to advise that if he can go ahead by that. Anyway, member for Lower
Yes, I move us to limit our time for 3 minutes that you have agreed on your discussion.
Any seconder? Any seconder? Yes. Member for Nyamina.
Thank you, Speaker. I second his motion.
Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that we limit our time intervention to 3 minutes to allow everybody the opportunity to make a statement of contribution within the 1 hour stipulated time. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. Honorable member for Banjul North, you have the floor. The ayes have it.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Considering the time limit, I will just be very specific in terms of my deliberations. Honorable Speaker, it has been mentioned by the Attorney General and Minister for Justice on the objects and reasons of this important bill. That furthermore, the bill gives effect to Section 142 of the Constitution, which is indeed very important. So, listening to my comrade sitting beside me, I think not to keep the Assembly waiting, it is important to implore you all to support the passing of this particular bill for the second reading and be referred to any committee that is responsible as far as this document is concerned. Because he has made a very important point in terms of the misconception that we had before. And now we understood the integrity of what is really happening. So it is important to consider it. We are here to make laws. And in doing so, we are the ones who should decide. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter about the figures that are provided as far as the schedule is concerned. It is upon us to decide now what can happen. And I know with due diligence, we can do that as a parliament. So in that regard, I submit. Thank you.
Thank you. The member for Brikama South, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I just want to look at page 3 under the interpretation of judicial officers that include the magistrates. If you go to the schedule, there is no allocation for magistrate under the schedule. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm a little bit worried, because if you are dealing with a whole arm of a government, which means the judiciary, this includes both the magistrates and judges. And there are instances whereby magistrates sentence some people for probably amount of 2 or 3 years. Upon serving their sentence, when they are out, they can be in the same private vehicle with the magistrate, which sometimes can even create a problem whereby they can attack them and anything can happen to them. So if you are dealing with this judiciary issue, I think it should be non-discriminatory. We have to look at it. And in fact, it is very clear in the interpretation of judicial officers. A magistrate is there, but when you come to the schedule, there is no issue of allocation. So I will advise if we can refer this to the ABC and send it to a portfolio committee where they will look at it critically and invite every stakeholder to take them through and how do we make some adjustment if it's going to be possible. Thank you.
Thank you. The member for minority. The member for Brikama North and Minority Leader.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, ever since my position was, it's a constitutional provision, and therefore our role is to legislate. Our concern should be how much are the judges receiving. The previous bills were not indicating their salaries, they were not scheduled. They were supposed to be determined by regulations which we have no control. For that, I was totally against that. There has been progress, schedule is provided. We know how much they want to allocate to the judges, including the Chief Justice. The onus lies on us to determine how much they deserve to receive. I think this is what is important. I also have concern on the gratuity, whether based on the basic salary or on the emolument, monthly emolument. The previous one was on the basic salary, now on the monthly emolument. That means there is an increase. I also have concern on the pension. The previous one was on the basic salary, now it's on the monthly emolument. That means there is an increase. On the basis of that, we need to refer this to the appropriate committee to thoroughly look into. In the interpretation, judicial officers made mention of the master, the sheriff, the magistrate, the Qadi, but if you go to the schedule. You have the judge and others, the senior judges are there. Both magistrate and others are not there. Are they not part of this? I want clarification on that. If they are not, I believe they should be part of it. How do you reconcile this with the constitutional provision that talk about the judges? And now it seems this one has gone beyond the judges. Honorable Minister, can you elaborate on that?
Thank you. I now give the floor to the member for Sane Mentoring.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I don't think I can agree more than what my leader, the minority leader, and member for Brikama North have just spoken about. We've all seen the differences because going through these two bills, which is the Judicial Officer Remuneration and Other Entitlements Bill 2024 and Judicial Officer Conditions of Service Bill 2024, it differs a little bit. There's a little bit difference in terms of increments, as he alluded. So I don't think I want to waste the time of the Parliament. I will agree, as he said, that we can refer it to the relevant committee so that the committee can scrutinize, consult the stakeholders, and come out with their recommendations to the plenary, and then plenary will decide whatever we are supposed to do. Thank you.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the member for Same.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. Honorable Speaker, what is before us is Judicial Officers Condition of Service Bill 2025. Honorable Speaker, this bill has been here since 50 legislature. And 2024, it came to this very house, it was rejected. Now they have changed the title, then it was judicial enumeration. Now they changed the title. But Honorable Speaker, when you go through this bill, you compare the first one and this one, you realize that there is little bit changes. Honorable Speaker, as other speakers have mentioned, you look at the current one that we are looking at, there is a subtle attack to it. But there are others that their names are mentioned, the master, the Kadi, and others. Those ones are not indicated. As a National Assembly member, our role is to scrutinize. Let's refer to the committee. Let them consult all the stakeholders with regard to this bill. If it does not favor, still now, it is within us. We can see what is going to suit the Gambian people. Honorable Speaker, with that note, I thank you very much for giving me.
I now invite the member for Nyamina Dankungu.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. Honorable Speaker, let me also join my colleague to give a support on this important bill. Honorable Speaker, it is very clear. The Constitution that we all sworn to, and they say we are defending that Constitution, it is the same Constitution that is telling us do this. And then I don't think doing it is going against the Constitution. And also, let us look at what we are trying to enact here. We are trying to provide a piece of legislation to our judicial service officers, which is actually very important. Even when you look at the bill at clause 10, it is telling you after their retirement, they cannot participate on any legal function within the Gambia, except there are some issues when the judge is being, when he is dismissed or whatsoever. And then I think the integrity of our judges is very important. So if I should use my barrister as an example, Barrister Yaya Sanya.
Honorable, please.
Member for Sabiti, who is a lawyer.
Sami.
Tomorrow, at this stage, if he is qualified to appoint as a judge, meaning all his useful life, he is not participating in any economic activity. And also, if he retire at the age of 70, he cannot participate within the country. I think it is high time we reason correctly and then make sure that we have this law in place. Definitely we should have it in place because we are the legislators. So if you look at ourselves, the National Assembly Service in 2022, what we did for ourselves, that's what the law is saying, do it for another independent institution, which is like us. So I don't think we can legislate our own piece of legislation the way we should be enumerated. And then other institutions, that is an independent institution like us, we said we will not do it. That would not be fair. My honorable members, this time around, please, I urge all of us to pass this thing, refer it to the committee so that the relevant stakeholders will be invited to give an input in the bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now give the floor to the member for Upper Fuladu West.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Well, first of all, I think I have to thank the Justice Minister for bringing this bill before the Parliament. And I heard from my colleagues, and a lot have been said. And for me, as others have alluded, that it is a constitutional requirement. But if you look at that section of the Constitution, which is section 142, it states judges. And then now, if you look at this bill, whereby the bill entitled Judicial Officers Condition of Service Bill, and this one is talking about judicial officers, which includes Master Sheriff, Kadi, magistrate, and then judges. So my worry here, the Justice Minister, would there not be an infringement of the Constitution, whereby the Constitution says judges, and now we are talking about masters, magistrates, cadis, and other cadres who are working on the Ministry of, under the Ministry of Justice. But for me, as far as this bill is concerned, if you look at the interpretation and you go to the schedule, there is mismatch. When you look at the interpretation, those names captured under the interpretation, most of those names are not captured in the schedule. For me personally, as the member for Upper Fuladu West, I can boldly tell the Justice Minister that this bill, there is a lot of ambiguities. And for me, as I speak the floor of Parliament, I will reshape my opinion until and unless those ambiguities are fixed. That's my stand. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I now invite the member for Busumbala.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for tabling this very important bill before this August Assembly. We are reminded that similar bill has been presented before us, and it's unfortunate it was unable to sail to the next destination. But today we are here again looking at the same, if I may call it, or very similar bill, just a change of nomenclature that has occurred in this other one. That is Judicial Officers Condition of Service Bill, to replace the previous one. What we want to understand is the fact that we are not doing this thing to make sure that judicial officers are principled enough to dispense justice within Gambian people in the Gambian context. But we are doing it because it is a constitutional requirement that is bestowed on member of parliament to promulgate this law for judicial officers. In this respect, I will join previous members who have indicated that we pass this to we pass this to the relevant committee through ABC for us to do adequate consultations in order to give a befitting and reasonable, looking at the economic condition of this country, to give them a reasonable wages as part of this bill, as far as this bill is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. I now invite the member for Ponye Councillor to take the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I thank the Minister of Justice for laying this confusing bill. As I said, this is one of the most confusing bills that is brought to this Parliament. The reason why I say so, this bill will say this in the other part, and at the other end will also say this. Distinction between judges, magistrate, cadis are not even specifically provided to this bill. And the worst of all is, looking at the schedule with integrity, we are setting laws for Gambian people and also for the masses of this country. It is only one schedule that is brought to us. So in so doing, who is a judge? It has been specified. But in the schedule that is given, we realize that it's only mirroring down to judges. The magistrate, the cadis, and the host of others are left at the dark. So we will not join a bandwagon of approving a dark bill in this Parliament. It has to be very clear. So what I'm just going to say here is, Honorable Minister of Justice, it is evidence, based on the information that we have, evidence-based, that judiciary judges' salary has increased. Now, we are past this schedule. If so is the case, what will happen to this if the Honorable Chief Judge is given this amount, and we have about 97% increment to it? Are we really ready for us to make justice to this? So it means they can, every Tom, Dick, and Harry can work on and increase what they want. So what I'm just trying to put here is,
I will speak a point of order.
I am not going to be a party to this.
There is a point of
and
order.
I'm off.
There is a point of order. There is a point of order from member for Nyanija. Can we hear the point of order?
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, 29-1. The honorable member is definitely going out of line, bringing issues that he cannot substantiate, and of course, quoting that there are magistrate cadis are not here, and it is clearly spelled in the bill. And if you look at the schedule and you look at what is approved in the budget 2025, not even a single butut is added to the salaries from the Chief Justice to the last person, as far as the schedule is concerned, and the budget. Thank you.
Honorable members, order sustained. Honorable member, please continue your debate.
Yes, thank you very much. Can you face Oluyundu? I am a giant. I am a giant. So be man up. Honorable Speaker, finally, where I will end, I want to put this to the Justice Minister. Judges' salary, I am saying they increase. If they increase, what will happen to this schedule? This schedule. If the salary is increased, what will happen to this schedule? Finally, also, I believe that this bill should be redirected and redrafted properly so that we'll be able to have a better approach of this bill. The bill is a confused bill. I say it. I therefore submit.
I now give the floor to the member for Lower Salem.
Honorable Speaker, it is unfortunate members of Parliament are not making their research properly. Honorable Speaker, you see that people are telling us they have increased the salaries. It's not true, nowhere. This is the budget that we have approved by us. Honorable Speaker, you check on the judges that he said, that's our increase. Honorable Speaker, let me just make a reference on the budget that we have passed in the Parliament. A judge is paid 479,700 per annum. Divide by 12, that will give you 39,975 and 0 buttons. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker. That's how I talk. Honorable Speaker. You Chief Justice, Honorable Speaker. He is paid 941,850. That is approved by this parliament. Then if you check that one, divided by 12 is $78,488. The amount. Honorable Speaker, the Supreme Judges, they are 6 in numbers. Supreme Court judges, they are paid, 6 of them, is $4,212,000 by 6. That will give you 702,000 buttons. Divided by 12, that will give you $58,500. What is this, Honorable Speaker? Members of Parliament, you have this document, and you are getting information outside that you have worked on this document, that this is the schedule that was approved by the Parliament. Where it is improved? Give us evidences. As a member of Parliament, you need to talk on truth. That will make you free. Though initially, I rejected this bill based on issues where spouses are paid, are no longer in this bill. Sorry to me. I have not seen it there. And this is why, even where it is there.
Well, honorable members, especially from council and others, please. Honorable members.
To me, you are.
Honorable members, please order. Please, honorable members, you made your contribution and he's making his. Honorable members, please don't do that. Honorable members of your council, don't do that. You made your contribution and your assertion without proving.
Them.
Don't use, honorable member, don't use your mic. Please don't do that. And now he's giving you facts. Please, let's listen to him.
It's unfortunate. You know, I said to myself, and which promise that I gave, I will not reject any bill at the first stage. I have to allow the process of the bill. If we, the members of the parliament, that the people outside that we are representing, that we cannot legislate, that give us the powers of section 100 of the constitution, whether it's good or bad, let's allow it to go the process. If we feel that it's not going as we want it, we said no to that. We can only, what we cannot change is the Quran and the Bible. But whatever we want to do here, and we can man to woman, that's all. But whatever we want to do, we will do it, Honorable Speaker. As a legislator, I don't say let's not take,
Honorable Speaker, how many minutes did you give this one? Honorable Speaker, how many minutes did you give him? Honorable Speaker, it's very unfair.
Honorable members, order. Honorable members, you know, you have been interrupting him and I have been interjecting and orders. You are eating up to his time. No, I did not add anything. Don't do that. Please, honorable members. Honorable members, you see, some of you took the floor and opposed the bill. They allow you to make your statement. And others are in support of the bill and you don't want them to continue. And they're bringing facts. However bitter they might be, listen to them. So please, honorable member, continue.
You see, as a legislator, let's allow the process to continue. And these are constitutional provisions that where you take an oath at this front of this floor of the House, that you're going to defend the Constitution of the Republic. Honorable Speaker, we allow the process to continue, whereby we, the members of Parliament, then the ambiguity that is inside, we